Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen. With me on the show today, Debbie G and Neo Positivity. This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today.
And 3 becomes 4 today because my own lovely wife Louise is sitting in once again, and I know you guys loved the last visit, so I figured if you loved the last one, you're going to love the next.
Oh, jeez. Right? Set the bar high for me. Thanks a lot.
Well, plus also, Debbie, you had indicated that you wanted to have Louise on your podcast, so I figured the best way to get that going is bring her back here again, and do a little communication and do the thing, right? So, how you doing?
I love that. And Louise, I'm so glad you're back. And hello, Walt. And hey, Neo. I'm doing great. I am doing fabuloso. We did hear some news though, just a little bit ago, and I heard it. You did too, yeah. Big love to Bob Proctor's family and his loving friends. 1935 to 2022. Bob Proctor, one of the biggest teachers that we've ever had, has left his earthly being. So if you're watching right now, send some love out to the Mr. Positivity himself.
Nice. That's who he was. He was the original, no doubt about that. And for those who aren't quite sure who Bob Proctor is, if you've seen The Secret, he was the first guest you saw on The Secret. He was the one who explained what The Secret was.
And he was the fuel behind it as well. You know, he was.
In many ways, he was, yeah. That's true.
I want everybody throw that out. Hashtag Bob Proctor.
There you go.
Because I know the internet is flooded with that right now. Support. I didn't know that at all. Wow.
No, that was within the last hour or so that I heard that one. I'm not sure when you heard it.
Yeah, right about that. Yeah, I think it just sort of started flooding all of Facebook and whatnot. But you know, I think does that make us think? It makes me think. You know, the theme has been playing small. Are you playing small? And I keep getting this vibe up. Time to vibe up. And I think Bob Proctor could be all about vibing up and giving us tools for playing small. So that's what's been up in my face, like literally, the last few days. What about you guys?
I can appreciate that. Yeah. In fact, I've been dealing with the whole being small routine for the last few weeks and how uncomfortable it is to climb out of that one. I mean, you have to actually be willing to climb out of that place. Playing small is a familiar zone. It's a comfort zone, right?
Totally.
When you're in that comfort zone, it's so easy to stay there, but you don't grow. So I've been doing the painful growing.
I love you.
I know about you, Debbie, but I know for what my perspective with women is we are taught to physically be small, you know, to make ourselves small in almost every situation, to not have a voice or not much of a voice. Not to have a strident, powerful voice. And it took a lot of years for me to even find my voice. And now you can't shut me up. I used to tell Walt if he told my girlfriends from high school, the way I was, you know, how I behaved, they wouldn't believe it because they're getting to know me that way. But that was not how I was in school at all.
I love that. You know what, Louise? I resonate with that really, really well. I was told I talk too much. I'm too much. My energy's too big. You know, that's that playing small. So we kind of shrink. I would shrink. And if I put my frame trying
that's all a compliment. That's
I'm telling you.
When it comes to you, that's all a compliment.
Well, okay. And I love that. But Louise, you're right. But it took me a while to switch that perspective to see that those were the very things that people told me to tone down were my attributes.
Mm-hmm.
That was
all right. So tell me, Louise, what attributes, and I'd love to hear Walt's and Neo's too, your attributes that you got from the negative input. How did you find your attributes in that? And I want you all to think about this too, who are listening and who are watching. What things were you told to play small with that you realize later, oh my God, these are my attributes? Or you're having an aha moment right now and realizing this is your attribute.
I got to go first.
That's it right there. That's that kitty.
I got to jump in. I was raised and repeatedly told not to want to be first or be the best or be great at all. Get your job, retire at 65, you on one vacation a year, and that's success. That is what you want out of life. And anytime I tried to shoot further, it was stop.
Oh.
And I think it was because it came from a place of like you're just gonna get let down. How many people do we know that have made it to here, to there, to that level of money or situation? And so getting over that is something I'm still working on now. But it actually segues great because I was going to say something, touch on something you said earlier. Well, you said it's uncomfortable to climb out. That is so profound because I'm learning recently in the past 2 months that the exact point where I start to feel like I'm out of my comfort zone, that is when the Neo meter starts to go up. And then as soon as I get comfortable again, sitting in the house chilling, it just stays still. And since I'm a comfort person and I've manifested a life where I could literally not do anything, but I would be stagnant. And so I'm learning to get out of my comfort zone, and the progression is just amazing what I'm seeing. And it's just like you said, it's uncomfortable to climb out, and but that's what you need. 100% is what you need.
Yeah. For me, I think it was don't rock the boat. Fit the mold, don't do anything different, and I pushed against that, probably starting college by where I wanted to go to school and how I applied to schools, and then the big time was starting my own business, and I didn't do that until after my dad died, and I don't think I was ready, but I know I probably would not have dared to do it if he was still alive, because he would have been, what if, you can't do that. And I did it. And we've had the business. This is going to be our 15th season. Mm-hmm. We're starting our 15th season in April.
Whew. And I'm loving all this. And for everybody who's just now joining us, we are talking about the things that we would take in as a negative, and we were told to play small. Those belief systems. How did you turn them around, and do you see now that they are your attribute? I love the ways you started a business. I mean, that's like, and that I understand what you're saying, like the what ifs and that's amazing. So you turned those what if I did expand.
She followed her gut. There was something in her screaming that's not for her, and she found it. I love that.
Well, the thing was, it wasn't something I had ever thought about. It was literally sitting my butt in the dirt in my garden after I had retired from being a psychotherapist and wondered if anybody would pay me. So it was tools in the trunk of my car and ad in a local newspaper and, $200 in my bank account, and off I went. So, and built from there, started small and built. But I never saw myself as a business owner, with people working for me. I was always going to work for somebody else. 9 to 5, 50 weeks a year.
That's inspirational right there.
We'll be right back after this message from the sponsor of today's program.
Listening to the Daily Climb podcast, where we explore personal growth, mindset, and productivity strategies to help you pursue your passions. My name is Ariel, and I'm so passionate about helping young adults actually feel excited to wake up in the morning and to create the life of their dreams. So I want you to make sure that you tune in every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for tips and inspiration so that you can climb. I can't wait to see how you grow.
You can do it.
Yeah. And for anybody that's listening, what is it that you have not been doing? How are you not showing up? The Neometer.
Yeah, right. I'm on the Neometer.
I'm still stuck on that. His Neometer was off. I mean, I'm going to do a Debbie G meter now because I am.
Right?
Oh my God. Radio. Totally.
It's like this. Every second in life, you're either going up, down, so you've been all these years up to this point, and it's like you're filling the cup up more as far as progression. Just as far as progression, that meter is raising the second you're out of your comfort zone. It kind of seems like that. It's a new concept to me. I established everything comfortable, retired, I don't cook, I don't clean, I don't really drive that much. And then I realized I guess I was going the wrong way. Although it was fun, I need to take myself out of that comfort zone more often.
I love that. So, well, I posted the other day, the power and courage versus conformity.
And that's what it takes. It takes power and it takes courage. Ideally, it takes support, which I had. But, you can find people to be supportive, or, if you have to, you can go it alone. It does help if you have people to encourage.
Yeah,
Debbie,
that.
You just said something that made me think. You made courage. Courage is equal to like blind faith. I never put it together like that. Courage is blind faith that it's going to work out.
Well, I've also heard it, people say, oh, you're a hero or you are courageous. It's feeling the fear, but doing it anyway, not letting the fear stop you.
That's blind faith right
there. Bang.
Yeah. Don't let it stop you.
Now, line that up, you know how they say if it's nighttime, you could drive from New Jersey to California seeing just 40 feet in front of you.
Yeah.
Because of your headlights. When it comes to a car barreling down a ton of weight, barreling down a road at 80 miles an hour, we're just okay with it. But when it comes to everything else, like having faith in the law of attraction and positivity and the $200 that you had when you just left, like me just uprooting to Tampa. When it comes to having that faith, it's like, And when you think about it, anytime we question whether it's going to work out, that's lack of faith right there. Right there.
Mm-hmm. And I like the fact that you don't have to know how it's going to work out. You don't have to know all of that. And that's what my father would have been a stickler about. How are you going to make this work? How's it going to, how? So you figure that out as you go along. And sometimes, as we probably have all experienced, you couldn't have even imagined the how. The universe moved things or put people in your path or an event that sort of clicked and things moved forward. You can't plan for those. You just have to stay open to them.
I love this. So, Karen Palmer and I have been doing this for a long time. Ready? Let go of the how. Get ready for the wow. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
There you go.
Let go of the how, get ready for the wow. But I
like that. I like that. Well, fasten your seatbelt. Because something's going to happen.
That is it right there. You just know that you know that you know. And I was just saying this to Joe the other day. I'm like, Joe, it's just basically the same thing. Fasten your seatbelts. And I know that this is John Fiore. That is actually a wonderful storm system said with love. You're damn right.
That's pretty much what it was.
Yeah, I love that. But really what I'm loving is the idea that this conversation is helping us to think differently. So, Walt, we didn't hear what you turned around, what your stuff was. I'd love to know.
Mine was a long-term turnaround because literally you talk about playing small.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a woman who's on the tall side. I'm very much of a tall man. And I wasn't tall all through school, but I was certainly taller than most. Mm-hmm. I didn't get really tall until my senior year of high school. But nevertheless, I was always taller than most. And there is particularly in public schools, there are all the different pressures that we experience to conform. And one of the forms of conformance that are expected, which you can't possibly match, is to be the same size as everybody else. So if you're too short or too tall, you don't fit in.
Oh, right. Totally. Completely.
Which means that from that point on, which is basically ground zero, you have to do everything you can to play yourself small if you're big or big if you're small. Just to fit in. Just to be accepted.
Yeah, if my hair's straight, you got to want it curly, right?
Exactly. Yes.
If you're tall, you want to be short. If you're short, you want to be tall. And even have you ever had this? Like somebody comes up to you and goes, "Oh, I wish I was tall like that." And it's like, yeah, you can get in places that don't hurt that would hurt my knees.
Right.
Okay, just to say it.
The best way I found to actually express how I felt about it was somebody would say, "Can I have some of your height?" I'd say, "Sure. You got a good surgeon?" I mean, seriously, I'll give it to you. 6 inches, it's yours.
Yeah, well, that story is crazy. I think back to high school, and everyone I saw that was tall, I was just like, I would give anything to be that height. Like every single time I saw them, I'm like, damn, I wish I was that tall. So to hear you come at it from a different perspective, I'm thrown out. I'm like, still trying to process.
Well, I'll throw more into it because after I reached adult age, and I was in the early stages of failed dating because I never had successful dating until I met her. So it was like, a lot of years. But when I was in the early stages of failed dating, the big way that you met people in those days, if you met them in school, that was one way, the bar scene, that kind of thing. But if you'd kind of grown past that and you hadn't met somebody yet, the only thing that was left was classified ads in newspapers. That was the only option. There was nothing else. And so that's what you would check into. And inevitably, any time that I saw a classified ad section, and it would be a singles classified action. It wouldn't be like built in with, the home improvement section. It would be its own thing, like a publication. And inevitably, the females who are looking for the males would say they were looking for a tall man. But what they meant was a guy who was 6 to 6'2".
Right.
They did not mean a guy who was 6'8". So
are you 6'8"?
I'm 6'8", yeah.
Holy, I've never seen you other than sitting
down.
I thought you were my height.
On the video, right?
You really thought you were my height. Wow. All right.
But they weren't looking for my height. So they asked for tall and they got me like, oh yeah, this isn't going to work. Goodbye.
Yeah.
I feel you. My son is 6'7". I have 6'7", 6'4".
Okay, so he knows
I'm
what's like.
5'10". Oh yeah, totally. Well, actually, even just watching them grow up, I felt for them. My granddaughter is 8 years old, and I kid you not, she's got to be 5. I don't know how tall she is. 5 feet, at least. But I remember being the tallest in class. So we all understand that we are all different. And this is really, I think this is more of a conversation truly about accepting ourselves. And if you're accepting yourselves by not conforming, by being in your power, being in your truth, I think it looks a lot different. And I think that's how I was able to turn around you talk too much, all the way from, we're talking like, I'll tell you a story. When I was little, I used to get busted by the teachers all the time and said, I talk too much. And I'm like, my mom said, you get into trouble because you talk too much, but you're doing great in class. Well, yeah. So this was a story. You guys, this was my story. She talks too much. And even one of my exes, do you ever shut up? No, I really don't. But that wasn't really what really was happening is I was talking a lot without saying much. Mm. Okay. But that's because I was in the victim syndrome of I talk too much. I'm not good enough kind of thing. When it flipped and I realized that this was one of my gifts is my ability of speech and to talk and communicate. I also learned how to do it more effectively. Mm-hmm. And so I shifted that, but that very thing, being tall, You know, one of the beauties of being tall for me is walking into a room with heels on and owning that shit like it's nobody's business. Of course, I could be 5'1" and I'd still walk in. My energy, you know, but I learned to use what I have and recognize the beauty in every aspect of me. So again, back to acceptance. What have you guys been discovering about the beauty of yourself?
Because that was more than acceptance. You turned it into a superpower.
Oh, boom, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, this wasn't just accepting that you were a tall woman. It's like, yeah, I'm tall. Deal with it.
Oh, you better believe it. When I realized
confidence.
Totally. But that didn't come for a long, long time. I was in my 40s. I just turned 54. So I was in my 40s before I felt that. Yeah. Now I know it. You know, I know it. It even looks different today than it did when I was in my 40s. The confidence I feel inside is the knowingness I have about myself. I don't question who I am. And my willingness to show up and just want to know more. Want to know more.
That's
I want
a
to know more.
superpower.
That is a superpower.
Yeah, staying open to learning more and growing.
The second you cut yourself off to new information is the second you started losing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know?
Hey, I gotta just say something. Look, you guys. Sam, hey Sam, how's it going? He says, well, I'm 6'7". I rarely meet anyone taller than me. I had to tell you, he really is 6'7" because I met him and I looked at him and I go, you're my son's height. You're 6'7". And he's like, yeah, you guys are, I love it all. I just think it's great.
Sam, you're going to love this story. You guys, I'm not sure if Debbie, you may know about this. Sam may know about this. There's a club for tall people called Tall Club of America. And they have chapters all over the place.
Yep.
And I remember going for the first time to the chapter in my area in Connecticut. And one of the things that they do at all tall club meetings, because there are height requirements, that's part of the whole point, is that it's for tall people. So men have to be at least 6'2", women have to be at least 5'10". So they measure to make sure, and everybody gets measured regardless of their height. They measure to make sure you're qualified to be there as part of the club. And I went in there and I'm thinking, is there going to be anybody taller than me? I'll bet you there's nobody taller than me. I'll bet you I'm still the tallest person in the room. So they measured everybody, and there were 3 of us who were 6'8". So they had to break it down to 1/8 of an inch, and I was 1/8 of an inch taller than everybody else in the room.
Now that's good manifesting.
Seriously, you're right. He manifested that, but well.
You knew it with confidence.
The only time I've ever had the experience of actually standing next to somebody who was significantly taller than me was back when I was still in college. I was doing an internship. My major was political science. My internship was with the New York State Education Committee associated with the New York State Assembly. I was working in the office of the chairman of that committee. And at the end of one of my days, I was walking home. I was within walking distance of the office. And there was this little place you walk through in the office complex that had like a little museum, like a little 2-room museum with paintings and so forth, and the paintings would change. And this one time I go through there, and there's this guy who, I swear, he must have been 7 foot, looking at one of the paintings. Now, I wasn't going to look at the paintings, but I went over to stand next to him to look at the paintings just so that I could experience what it's like to look up to somebody who's 4 inches taller than me.
Wow. You know what? He was looking at you saying, damn, I'm still the tallest man.
Right, exactly. And I was saying, I've been there. I know how you feel.
Oh, this is great. So accepting yourself, I mean, come on.
I kind of wish we didn't go
I
down
love this.
I kind of wish I didn't know you were that tall, because I know we're going to see each other one day. And it would have just been...
The shock would have been, it probably would have killed you.
Neo, he didn't tell me how tall he was before I met him. I told him I dated somebody. He said he was tall. And I said, well, I dated somebody who was tall. I said, well, how tall? And I said, 6'4". And I can't remember how you put it, but I walked into the restaurant. I was like, oh shit. And went home and called my girlfriend and said, this isn't going to work. He's so tall. How are we going to dance together? I'd have to stand on something to kiss him. We figured it out.
But
okay, so,
figure it out.
No, wait a minute. How tall are you?
I'm 5'6".
that's adorable.
I'm
14 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, that's cool as heck. Are you guys loving this or what? Oh my gosh, how adorable is that?
Debbie, because you're here, I'll tell you. You know how there's that place in a man's chest, like right here? My head fits right there when I stand next to him.
That's so awesome. I love that. Yes, I do.
But you're talking about our, what are our strength, our differences that were hindrances maybe before. I think of all the famous people who didn't fit the mold and took the risk to be themselves. What's Branson's first name? Richard Branson. Yeah. Bill Gates. You just name it. Created people.
I'll give you, I hate to say it like this, but ugly actors. Every ugly actor said, you know what? I'm going for it anyway.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Well, actually, every successful actor ultimately said that at some point.
Yeah, but Brad Pitt,
the ones that didn't fit the mold,
didn't struggle that much with the decision.
This is true.
Well, Debbie Allen,
whereas
the dancer,
Samuel L. Jackson had to think about it for 44 years.
Yes. You know who Debbie Allen is, the dancer?
Yeah.
Maybe you don't. She was in the movie Fame, or the TV show, but she's short. Who else is there? I'm not thinking of names, but short women who wanted to be dancers and were told you'll never be successful, and were. She was one of them. Dancer, choreographer, movie director.
Well, I can think of one who was told that she wouldn't be good enough as a dancer. Her name was Madonna.
Oh.
You got Joe Pesci.
Okay,
and
you know
DeVito
what?
We're going off height.
Okay,
right?
now y'all, we're all talking about whether or not somebody is good enough. Who in the heck is supposed to determine who is good enough of doing something and who isn't? I recently had this conversation about whether or not somebody else felt somebody was good enough to do something. And I'm like, well, here's the only thing I have to say about this is this. There's been a lot of people in this world. Oprah was told she sucked.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Period. She was told she was absolutely awful. And I'm going to tell you that if you have a passion inside of you that is burning, that says, this is what I'm supposed to do. If somebody else is coming against you, what I thought of was this. Isn't that the universe saying, are you going to play small or are you going to do it? Are you going to listen and let that false evidence appearing real tell you that you can't do that? Or are you going to get up and you're going to rock and roll?
Well, how many, and I think of pageants, women that came in second, didn't win, went on to have careers and are famous and have a known name, whereas the winners, nobody knows, nobody remembers them.
The last competition I was in, that was the exact case. All the winners from the past, you didn't hear of. All the runner-ups were the top leaders in the industry. I have this saying that I always say, and it's one of my most quoted ones. No matter what you ask for, you will be shown, if not proven, that you cannot have it. And it's how you respond to that emotionally that determines if and when you get it. And that's what it is. When the door will close, people will shut you down. People will say stuff to you. But it's when you hold tight and know the outcome is when you get it. And your confidence level determines how soon you're going to get it.
What you were just saying reminds me of something, too. Will Smith periodically does selfie videos that I think he's basically just trying to encourage people by sharing his story. And this one video he did, I think it was 4 years ago, he was driving in his car. I've seen the video. And he's talking about failure. Failure that people encounter as they're trying to get somewhere, build something, whatever. And he made a really interesting point. He said, there isn't a single successful person anywhere in the world who hasn't failed more often than they've succeeded.
How many millionaires, have gone broke 3, 4, 5 times, but kept going? I don't think I would have had the gall to do that. But one of the things I just made a conscious decision not to do when I started the gardening business was I didn't network. I didn't go talk to other people in the business, primarily because I didn't want anybody to tell me I couldn't do it, that it wouldn't work. I heard from different people, I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do as much as you do, but I didn't want to have people telling me, oh, it won't. I didn't even want to encounter anybody that might tell me, you can't do that. It won't work. You won't make a success of it. There isn't enough customer base, whatever. It's like, no, I'm just going for it.
I think that's beautiful right there. You're just going for it. And I love that because there's going to be people who have their opinion. But let's remember, y'all, an opinion is from simply the perception of another human. They only have their perception, right? That becomes our discernment. Or are we going to buy it as our truth just because that's their truth? It's a choice we have to whether or not we want to accept somebody else's truth as being our own.
Remove them from the equation and you end up with you and God's source. And that opinion, you just manifested. So it has even less weight, kinda, because it's like, that's just something that happened as a result of me being negative yesterday. It ain't real. So if you want to dive deeper, if you want to dive, that's why I like to attack the core of things, that way it sticks. I want to we touched on something earlier. I want to try to circle back to it because I'm having trouble figuring it out in my head, mainly because we're having such other great conversation. But we tied in courage with blind faith. And now I'm trying, for some reason when I think blind faith, I'm piecing in intuition. Because when you go into blind faith, it's kind of like you're trusting that your intuition was right or that it's going to lead you to wrong. I'm having trouble with the next step. Can anyone place them together for me?
Well, for me, it's what happens when I do that? What's the outcome? Am I getting what I want? Am I continuing to be led that this is shown that this is working? And that's what keeps me going forward, is that I've had the blind faith to do it and the phone's ringing. People want my services. People are happy with the work we're doing. So I'm getting feedback from the universe, that my choice was the right one.
So is it accurate to say that, because I said courage equals blind faith. I don't know if it's 100% accurate to say that courage equals blind faith in your intuition. Is that right or no? Is that slightly off? Because you can go into blind faith. You can go into blind faith and not use your intuition and make a stupid decision and end up screwed. So I'm like, it's not necessary, but I'm trying to make a good equation so I can, potentially use it to help someone in the future.
Maybe this might help. I don't have the connection just yet, but let me throw another piece into the soup, so to speak, and we'll see what bubbles to the top. When I think about my own experiences learning to trust my own intuition, which were painful, by the way, I had a lot of instances where my intuition did not work out the way I thought it might work out and didn't even come close. And for a long time, I didn't understand why isn't my intuition as good as everybody else's. Especially here on the podcast, I would interview all of these people who kept using their intuition. They used to have these wonderful results, and I'd say, why don't I get that? And then I finally figured it out within the last year, actually. I finally understood what it was that made the difference. There's a difference between intuition when your vibe is up and intuition when your vibe is down. Now, I never thought about that before, but if you trust your intuition when your vibe is up, you're going to get really, really good results. If you trust your intuition when your vibe is down, you're going to get really lousy results. So if you want to try to tie that into the idea of courage, maybe courage has something to do with being intuitive when your vibe is up.
When you say lousy results, do you mean like you're totally off, you didn't manifest what you wanted, or do you mean you manifested something bad?
one or the other, or both. Sometimes both, which made it even worse.
So it's basically saying in a low vibration, my intuition will lead me towards a future that's undesirable.
Right. But high vibe intuition much more often leads me to the result that I'm looking for.
It was crazy. We talked about this last week, but I didn't get that. All right. I'm absorbing it.
I have a question. Is it confusing?
I always thought your intuition led you in a positive direction, no matter what. That's why it's a new take, and I'm digesting it.
No. Yeah, I love this. So when you're listening to your gut, is there any confusion? If there's any confusion, then get the hell away from it. Simple as that. Things that are meant to be have no confusion within them. If there is confusion, it's usually because we are questioning it because we know to question it. That's in the juice of it. But what you're asking about with courage is doing the thing your intuition's telling you to do.
Okay, so it isn't necessary.
It's your intuition is your internal guidance system. It's your GPS. Mm-hmm.
And you have to be careful as you're talking about this. I'm thinking of some of my own experiences, intuition versus impulses, and like codependent, addictive kind of impulses. Because I've done that. It's like, got an idea. It's like, oh, it gets me all excited, whatever. And it was not a good thing to do. And it was based on something else, fear of being alone, not trusting, and it was relationship, related. So that what seemed like a brainstorm and a great idea and I'm all excited. Well, that was probably because my energy was low to begin with, and I was looking to elevate my energy through somebody else or doing something that was not good for me. So you gotta question, what's my motivation here?
I'm just clapping. Your agenda. What's your agenda, girl? Love that. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm serious. It's all about looking inside of yourself and getting real. Yeah.
What I was going to throw on top of that, because for me, it's like, which voice is intuition and which one's me? And for usually the first one is intuition. Like when I see that Gucci bag for $1,200, I'm like, I need to have that. That's intuition. Realistically, if I got that bag and appreciated it, universe will put the money right back in my account. 100%. So that's my intuition. But the voice after that, well, maybe I should save that money. All those voices are me, another, untethered soul type of stuff. So, and that's how I kind of go with intuition. And Walt, you still get me. Like, I'm like, I never, ever even entertain the idea that my gut would steer me anywhere undesirable. And so I'm just trying to figure out, like, when you say something or do something, how is it you identify intuition from Walt and slime trails and past, stuff like that? And maybe,
the way
addictions or whatever.
The way you use the word me there, you said, is it me or is it my intuition? Like this is a topic that we've discussed here on the show previously. What is the role of the ego? What is an ego? Is the ego something to get out of our way? Is the ego something that causes issues for us and we need to get out of our ego space and into our true space and all that kind of thing? And the point that I keep coming back to is the origin of the word ego comes from the Latin meaning I. So the ego is me. So getting me out of my own way, that actually doesn't make sense to me. That's why I ended up on the track that I mentioned, where I was trying to understand what's the difference between when can I trust my intuition and when I can't trust it. And I realized after a lot of struggle and a lot of talking to people that I can trust it when my vibration is high and I can't trust it when my vibration is low, which makes a whole lot of sense, because when my vibration is high, that's the time to ask for what I really want. When my vibration is low, look out if I ask for something, because I'm going to get something that I don't like very much. That's just the way the law of attraction works. So I think when you describe intuition, I think what you're talking about is intuition in a high vibe space. You don't think of it as intuition when you're in a low vibe space.
I don't know. You make me think back to my cop days. I'm chasing a guy down a dark alleyway. Yeah, I'm kind of scared. His gun's bigger than mine, and it's dark, and he turned the corner before me, and I don't see where he is. I'm in a shitty situation. I'm in a very low vibration, but I trust my intuition and make the move, duck, dive, jump, whatever it is, and that's kind of what got me. That's what kind of got me through.
Were you in a low vibration? The situation could have been one that would make somebody feel low vibe, but were you feeling low vibe?
I was in a state of paranoia. I mean, you have to be when you're chasing somebody like that.
Okay.
And I think that's a low vibration. So I'm like, that's why I'm like in that situation, I want to trust my gut to get me out of it, basically. And that's what worked. That's why I was like, man, I never even thought of my gut even being capable of taking me to a different place. But as far as the intuition voice, for me, intuition would be that God source, that whisper, duck, go left. Not me or the ego. So I kind of separate three, I guess you could say. First one's God. You want that bag. You need that bag. That bag should be yours. And the next one after that is probably me, the sensible one, saying, yeah, I probably shouldn't spend $1,200 on another bag. And then the ego steps in after that with all its bullshit. Oh, what about this? What about that? So it's kind of like I kind of like give them three in that situation. But yeah, I'm still trying to digest the whole low vibrational thing.
You said the three, me, myself, and I.
Or the Holy Trinity.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just throw this out there off topic. Everything has two sides. Every coin has a top and a bottom. Even the atom has an inside and out. Everything has these variables. Tall, short, fat, skinny, male, female. They come together. Except time. Time's the only one with three. Future, past, and present. So there is some kind of, with this Holy Trinity thing, that whole three numbers, it comes up in some really spooky situations when you think about it. But yeah, it was off topic.
That's interesting, though.
That was actually really cool. I kind of dig that. Time is relative to how we want to value it too. And that goes back to accepting yourself. And I love your asking about intuition because, yeah, man, when I follow my ego instead of my intuition, I usually get myself in trouble.
That's the name of the game.
So it's learning to discern the voice. And what's cool is it's a game. It's a game with our brain. It's a game.
It is.
Yeah, it's such a game. To start repatterning your brain and how that you're thinking, how that you're making your decisions and everything else it's definitely possible to follow your gut with ease. To me, whenever I'm following my gut, there's a peacefulness to it. There's an ease to it. There's an ease to the situation. I'm not having to make it happen. If I'm having to force that to happen the way I want it to happen, I'm definitely going against the vibe, it's low vibing and it's controlling and it's not letting go. It's a whole bunch of stuff actually that go in that. When you're truly within your element with source energy, these things are coming up because it's just not there. There's a peacefulness, like I said, but there's the other thing too. The idea that we're not our body. We're not this is an avatar. What's funny is this whole body is beating. My heart beats on its own. I'm not having to remind it. I'm not having, what the hell?
Hey, stop playing.
What's up?
Blanco, breathe in, breathe out.
Yeah. Lungs, what's happening here? You're lagging. And wait, what's this circulation thing happen? Do you feel me? Like, we're not doing that. Our body does itself. The only thing that we think, and this is what's hilarious, we think we have control over is our brain. But we don't have control over that either. We don't have control over much. Thank you, Joe.
What avatar? Where's the avatar? I don't see it.
That's an avatar. I'm just we are so much bigger and so much grander and so much greater.
Oh, your avatar. Okay, I got you. Yeah.
Than just these bodies, just this existence. We are so much bigger and greater than. If we're tapped into the bigger, greater than aspects of our divinity and what we really are, there's a peace and a flow and a grace to it that is not present when you are functioning from the level of your ego. Your ego's there to guide you. Yeah, don't do this, don't do that, kind of thing. But the true essence of the self, of who we truly are, has nothing to do with this body that we're in or anything else. It's about that love that's within our heart, and how do we tap into that? And if you've ever got a question about what you're doing, mind and heart coherence and getting yourself in check with your heart will never guide you wrong. It's love or fear, love or fear, love or fear. I was listening to someone this weekend and it was love or fear. That's all. It's one or the other.
Everything boils down to that.
Totally. And it does. What other experiences have you guys had with your ego and your intuition and your...
Well, actually, I'm sitting here and I'm kind of digesting what Neo said, and I'm realizing what I said about the way I understand now when to trust my intuition, when not to, works for me. But the way that Neo expressed what he finds works for him. And you kind of touched on it. You said, I don't remember the exact phrase, but I heard it in the way you said it. You have to know yourself. So Neo knows himself well enough to know this is where I get my best signal from. This is the signal I can trust. He calls it, maybe he calls it his God voice. He has whatever way he thinks of it. But the way he thinks of it that's what works for him. Yeah. I have my way of what works for me. So what we're really talking about is, do you know what your own way of working with what you got is?
Have you took the time out to find out?
Yeah.
It's different for different people.
You're missing out.
Yeah.
That's right. Now, it's also a challenge because it's going to be a little bit harder, perhaps, to model after somebody else. But by the same token, you can try modeling after somebody and see if it works for you. If it doesn't, make an adjustment.
The key word you said is see if it works for you. If you have to test this stuff and determine what works and what doesn't. If you just go to work, come home, watch TV, take a shower, and the next day do the same thing again, you're not working on you. You gotta try this. Jeez. You gotta do stuff.
I had a professor in graduate school who used an analogy that has always stuck with me because it's a visual one. You go try on a coat, off the rack, and it doesn't fit just right. You need a coat, but it doesn't fit just right. Well, you have it tailored to fit you. The same with somebody else's experience. You like the result they got, right, but maybe just how they did it doesn't fit for you. So, you try it on. That didn't work or that didn't feel right. You tweak it until it does feel right. And you're getting the result that you do want. And you've made it fit for you. It's just yours because that's what works for you.
And there's an inevitable thing that goes along with this, which is if you do take the time to learn what works for you, you inevitably, this is not even avoidable in any stretch of the imagination, you inevitably end up connecting better to your internal being. That's the only place you're going to find the answer.
100%. If they come hand in hand. You can't have one without the other.
Right.
I love that. I agree.
Because it's a connection. It's a connection with that.
It's sort of like somebody's lost weight and they're telling you, I eat this is how I do it. Mm-hmm. And to think that somebody else is going to come and do that exact thing and they're going to get the same exact results.
It can happen, but I wouldn't bank on it.
Yeah, not without some altering. You're right, because that's what the beautiful uniqueness of all of us is. I mean, we all have this beautiful, unique being that gets to do it their own way. I love that malleable aspect to what we get to try. And you're right. You better absolutely look into every single thing we hear, everything. Be skeptical. Somebody was telling me, be skeptical. Who said that? Be skeptical. We pretty much
I've heard that most of my life, really.
So be skeptical. Be skeptical of things. Do your own research. Check into it. Like Neo said, see what works for you. Like Walt and Louise were saying, I agree with you guys. We have to see what works for us.
And when you find out, that's when you've done the growth.
Absolutely.
That's where the growth is, right there. You identify.
And doing the work.
Even if you just identified one little piece, you grew that amount.
That's right. Absolutely. You know it.
And it kind of circles right back to getting outside of your comfort zone. Especially the people who think what we're talking about is all woo-woo and fairies and pixie dust. It is going to exactly require you getting out of your comfort zone to experience what we're talking about. Otherwise, enjoy the rat race. We'll see you when you come around. You're going to come around. We'll see you then.
Neo, I'd always had a motion I did whenever Walt would throw something back at me that I had pointed out to him from a therapeutic point of view. It was one of these, oh shucks kind of things, like I can't get away with it myself because I didn't let him get away with it. Now he's throwing it back at me, and it's like, you got to grow.
That's called an accountability partner. May we all have one day.
Okay, I love this. Well, Louise, are you each other's accountability partner?
100%.
Oh,
have you not heard them speak?
I don't think it's something we do consciously.
Yeah.
It's not like we go out of our way to hold each other accountable. You just kind of do. Just because you're in a relationship and you're going to have two different viewpoints, and that's going to create accountability.
Well, and because we're willing to talk and to say it. We don't fight. I don't know if we've ever had a fight.
Not fight. We've disagreed.
We disagreed, or, somebody has said something that the other one didn't like. So my modus operandi is to go into usually the bedroom and shut the door and fume for a while. And then I'm like, okay, how do I tell him in a nice way that I didn't like what he said or how he said it or whatever, or my feelings are hurt? So instead of just standing there, continuing to escalate or whatever, or get personal about someone's behavior, not a lot of couples attack each other instead of talking about the behavior. If you stick to the behavior, that can change. So it's figuring out, having my feelings, acknowledging my feelings, and then how do I then present it? Basically holding him accountable. Mm-hmm. But I'm also holding myself accountable in that I'm speaking to my feelings and to my experience.
Right on.
I'm going to throw something else at you. I was doing a podcast yesterday. I'm doing one podcast a day. I had this great plan. Do one podcast a day, get them all done before the summit, before the next summit. And I realized that it's probably none of them are going to air until after the summit. But anyway, so the guy did the podcast. We have a very similar story. Both of our fathers were not really law of attraction, woo-woo, fairy pixie dust. And so it was hard for us to try to instill it in them and talk to them about it, really hold a conversation more than 30 seconds. But he and I both hit the point. His dad had a heart attack, mine had a stroke. And that was when I put it, how you say you can't force the law of attraction on anybody. I put all that shit aside. We had a talk. I'm forcing it on you, bro, because I love you that much. And that is the whole accountability partner aspect of it, between Walt and Louise. It's I love you so much, I'm not going to let you go down that rabbit hole mentally.
That's right. I love that.
Snap out of it!
That's the exact story I was going to tell.
No, I freaking had to actually, Joe and I had this conversation about accountability, about holding each other accountable with certain things. Like if he sees me making this decision, hey honey, I'll give you for instance. We were going to get dinner the other night and I saw Starbucks, and I like every once in a blue moon. I like blue moons because I also like cake pops. And I'm like, ooh, I want a cake pop because I'm hungry. All I want is to eat, but I'm looking at the cake pops and he's like, no, you don't, honey. There you go. No cake pop for Debbie.
I know what a cake pop is now. I'm literally Google searching.
You don't?
It's cake on a popsicle.
Yes, and frosted. Yeah.
It's a cake pop.
Yeah.
I thought it was a type of marital
It's just, like 2 bites of cake instead of a whole cake or a whole piece.
So clearly, Neil, you're not enough of a sugar addict to understand exactly what this is. So
Yeah, I need to get out more.
Hey, we had dessert last night before dinner.
That's the only way to have it. Why would you choose?
Hey, I even had one night I made a chocolate cake before dinner. It got done. It smelled so good. I'm like, big piece of chocolate cake and a glass of milk. That was dinner.
Oh,
I'm a fan, unless it's ice cream, then, But anything else?
you draw a line? Okay.
Yeah, I'll take the cold later.
Okay.
And I would hate to fill up on like milkshakes. If I get a milkshake, it fills me up so much I don't want to eat. And I don't want to do that to my meal. I want to taste all that goodness in that plate.
That's why I have the milkshake about 2:00 in the afternoon. Then I've worked it off and I can have both.
Yes.
But you're right. There's sometimes it's like a chocolate ice cream soda or something, around here, what do they call Fribbles or the real thick thing would taste really good, but it's too much. It's just too much.
well, I didn't get my cake pop, so hey. I'm just saying. I mean, that didn't happen because
He held you accountable.
he held me accountable. But it's the biggest thing, it's the biggest thing when you have support systems where you can actually say, let's be there for each other so that we can grow together, so that we can be this together. It's just, I don't know. That's awesome.
You know what's a really great, probably the best accountability partner you can ever have? Is right here. Because you grab it all day anyway, and it's not going to slip. It's not going to slip up. If you set the alert to go off every day at 3, it's not going to forget.
And when it talks back, you can't complain because you're the one who programmed it.
There.
Well, you can't complain, but still.
Well, actually, you're right about that. I heard something earlier that Stacy's she's gonna go off grid and she's gonna be hiking and whatnot, and no phone whatsoever.
Really?
No phone, yeah.
Good for her.
What do you guys? 2 months? Isn't that rad?
Whoa.
Wow.
That reminds me of
There should be. I think there should be an app called the Accountability Partner. Somebody make one, please.
Oh, there are accountability apps.
Yeah.
Are there really?
Yeah. Oh, there are a number of them. Yeah. And you can almost use them any way you want to. A couple of them are so open-ended that literally you can use them any way you want to. Yeah.
Anybody have a suggestion for a great reminder or accountability app? Put it in the chats, please. I will be downloading some stuff today.
That would be rad. That would be totally cool. It would be. I love that. Well, somebody was saying the more you pay attention to your feelings and self, the more intuitive with yourself, pay attention to your feelings and body and language.
Yeah.
Tune into you.
Brain's muscle memory.
And for me, that's a long-term project. That's not something that I have been able to do quickly and easily at any one time. It's been an ongoing thing to just learn to trust my feelings. First of all, just even paying attention to the feelings. Just doing that's a victory. And then once I'm getting the feelings, being willing to stay in them. Being willing to just stay in that heart place rather than the brain place. Because I'm good at the brain place.
Oh, yeah.
She knows.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really good at the brain place. Heart place is a little bit challenging for me.
Left brain.
Yeah.
No.
In the spirit of the law of attraction, it's just like jogging. It's not like a black belt where you earn it, it's yours forever. It's like jogging. You have to work at it to be good at it. And the second you start taking days off, the second you start to move further away from being good at it. So stay on top of it.
But there's also a great payoff. Because the great payoff is that when you do stay with it, it gets better and better. And what I found is after time, I actually like the feelings. That was not something that I would have admitted to 20 years ago. In fact, I would have denied it. I would have said, yeah, I'm not really all that sure that feelings are worth anything to me. They're actually working against me.
You did.
Probably did. I probably did. I'm not surprised by that at all. But what I've since come to realize is that feeling is a lot of fun. And I think that's really what the difference was. Right. That's where I made my biggest growth, is when I realized this thing that I'd been resisting all this time is actually a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Feelings are beautiful when you get them right. I'll just say it like that. I could have probably worded that better, but you get the point.
And the thing is, the more you do it, like anything else, eventually it becomes second nature. You don't have to think about doing it. It happens more naturally. And that's great, because the negatives, God, they came, split second. And the positives start to do that too. Again, rewiring the brain, flexing that muscle, that the healthy, the positive answers or ideas will come first, as opposed to having to hunt for them.
I was just realizing too, when you're not allowing the feelings, which is where I was at for quite some time, the nice feelings, they go away. The not so nice feelings, they stay in your body, which is really unfair. I mean, if you're going to be haunted by feelings, wouldn't it be more fair to be haunted by the good ones? But no, that's not the way it works. You get haunted by the ones that you haven't felt that are the not good feelings, and then they kind of pile up over time, and then you say, oh, well, this is really miserable. Who wants to have feelings after all of this? But it's because you've been storing up all those negative feelings, and the positive feelings, they just went away real quick. So it actually does pay to be in the feeling space, because then you don't have all those negative feelings hanging over you all the time.
I guess it makes sense that Exorcist got more tickets sold than Casper the Friendly Ghost.
That's a good point there, Neo. I'll tell you what. It takes how many positives? I think the 10 positives to undo a negative. Yeah. So if you say something negative about yourself, then you need to say something positive about yourself 10 times. It's actually only 5, but I'm going to add 5 more just because we need it.
Sprinkle another one on for me too. Can we make it a baker's dozen? Walt Louise?
All right.
I'm okay with that.
That 13th one is a cake pop.
There it is.
Hey, to me, anything that increases the number of positives, I don't care how we get there. That's fine.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, hang on. So he said no to the cake pop, but then brought me Caramel Delight Girl Scout cookies. I'm like, Joe, honey, I love you. Those were good too. Really, seriously, I love them. Just saying.
You've got everyone thinking about that now, Girl Scout cookies.
Hey, I'm glad we had pumpkin pie for dessert.
No, seriously, I was cruising down the main street the other day, and like these people have this child that's a Girl Scout on Main Street in Huntington Beach with in their yard a giant Girl Scout cookie entourage. I'm like, oh no, I got to work on that.
In other words, driving by gives you sugar shock, is what you're saying.
You're so
or
glad I got my treat.
At least.
Well, I'm really glad I got my treat too. Thank you. It says Facebook user, but hey, it was actually, it was really awesome. So thank you. Anyway, you guys have been a blast today.
This has been fun. This has been really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always sad when the hour is over, but this is even sadder than usual because this has been so much fun.
It's good to see you both.
Gotta dig deep.
I love it super. I love that you were on.
Oh, thank you.
Well, we may make it more permanent. We may have her back more often. How about that?
Twist my arm. That's enough.
I think it would rock too.
Oh, Neo started something.
And a good thing, too. So with that thought in mind, thank you to our live streamers. Thank you, guys. Thank you, podcast listeners everywhere. And we will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.